In this video, I'm going to give a brief overview of how I stained the neck and the fretboard and inserted the fret markers on the neck. Now the fretboard itself is an unfinished fretboard, and what I want to do is darken it to fit the theme of the guitar, which is this kind of relic black blue finish. So to start with, I'm just going in very lightly and sanding the wood. I'm using the 600 paper. I'm doing this just to make sure everything is nice and smooth as I want it to be. Make sure there's no dust there at all before applying the stain. It's black and I'm literally just rubbing it on with a rag, trying to get it as even as possible and not worrying if it doesn't look dark enough yet, because this is just the first time I'm applying it. And I'm also not worrying about it on the frets, because I'm going to clean the frets up afterwards. There are some issues with this guitar. As you can see here, there's some marks where the stain hasn't taken, and that's because there's glue on the side wood here. Now that's possibly come from my fingers when I've been gluing parts on, but it's a really simple fix because this glue is just on the surface. So I've sanded it back and now you can see the stain takes perfectly. Now I'm going over all the frets again for a second coat because I want it to look really dark, and I'm making sure, just using a Q-tip as you might call it in America, or cotton bud as we call it here in the UK, just using that to soak up the stain where it is on my fret markers. Now an alternative to this would have been to put masking tape over the fret markers, for example, but I knew that this will work absolutely fine for the process that I'm after. I should also say, in the long run, I want this guitar to look relict. So the surface is going to be worn down in areas, so I don't want the stain to look even all over. I also want it to blend on the neck so that the heel and the headstock are black, but the main part of the neck is a teal colour, again a Nitro-Lac aqua stain. So I've sanded that back, not 100% to the wood. I like some of the black showing through because that accentuates the grain, but also helps with this relic look that I'm after. And with the headstock that I've changed, I've gone for the look that I've designed for all my guitars, which is to have it in two tones, two parts, and this slightly raised part is going to be sanded back to allow the teal stain to go on. Again, part of the black showing through to accentuate the grain and to add to the kind of worn look that I'm after. Now this is a cool tip, it's something I really like. I put the black on the fretboard, I put the black on the neck, sanded the neck back, but what I really want is this strip here where the fret markers are visible to really be that teal colour as much as possible. So I've gone back in with a Stanley knife blade to scrape away the surface very lightly to get rid of the stain that's there, the black stain that's there. And then I'm also going over it with some sandpaper to get rid of that too. Again, the 600 grit is ideal for this stage. Now it's time to add the teal, but what's really important for me is I want the teal to blend into the black. So I faded the black out. I'm also going to rub the teal over the black, but not everywhere, but I'm just rubbing the blue over the black on certain areas, so as it blends into the heel and as it blends into the headstock, but I'm leaving the whole flat back of the headstock totally black. So the blue's just overlapping slightly. And what you're going to find with colours like the teal is sometimes multiple coats really help. Just like the black got darker, the teal's going to get richer. So what I'm going to do is revisit this after I've left it to dry for an hour or two and decide whether I want to add more stain to it. And because I want that worn look, I'm going to do a little bit of sanding in some areas so that when I put my second layer of teal on, some areas are richer and some areas have been on it. At the end of the video, I'll show the whole finished product. Now here I'm just using a brush to apply the stain, so I can be really neat and make sure it just goes up to the edge and doesn't accidentally touch the black area on the stock. Now this neck from Guitar Kit Fabric had black dots in it, but I decided once I put the stain on, actually white dots would be better. So you can get fret rods, and all I'm doing is drilling directly into the dots that are already there. So it's all marked out perfectly for me, don't have to line it up. I'm drilling a hole exactly the same size as the diameter of the fret rods. And I've just gone over with the stain to really ensure the colour is everywhere. That's the teal stain that I want on this line. And then using my O3A adhesive, medium, I'm just putting a bit of glue in each hole, followed by the rods. And I leave them sticking up until they've dried. Clip them off, then go back with my Stanley knife to make sure it's nice and flat. And just neaten up any marks I can use a brush and some stain. When that's all dry, so I've actually come back the following day, I'm going over it again with my knife, and this time I'm just scratching onto the fret dots if there's any stain that's seeped onto them, doing a little bit of sanding on the neck where I feel like I want a bit more wear to look through for that relic look. And now I'm applying the tru-oil. Now I won't go through the entire process of tru-oil because I have a whole video about that, but essentially I apply the tru-oil with a rag, let it dry, so I'm leaving it dry overnight for a day between each coat. And then before I apply the next coat, I'm using their sandpaper, starting with 600, then I put a new coat on, leave it 24 hours, go with the 800 grit, second coat, leave it 24 hours, 1000, 1200, and finally the 1500, and that gives it that satin finish that I'm really after. I can actually, what I decided to do is I went back in and put a bit more relic on the fretboard before then reapplying the tru-oil. The great thing about the tru-oil, if you're making changes like I've just done, it's very easy to sand through and then very easy to reapply.